Okay, so today I'm talking to Jen, our franchisee from Shellharbour. Jen's been with us for just on 12 months. We've just celebrated Jen's first birthday with us. It has a great background. It's a really interesting background and a really important background for Ready Steady because she comes from the early childhood background as a centre manager, a centre educator and director for many years. So really, really close connection there with Ready Steady Go Kids and the early childhood sector. Welcome, Jen. Hello.
Hello, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me.
So we've done a little bit of an intro, but for those that don't know Jen Jeffrey from Shellharbour, who are you and what did life look like for you before Ready Steady Go Kids?
So, as you mentioned, centre director, been in the early childhood industry for, and I hate to say it, 30 something years, but not just early childhood as well. I've done primary school, I've done secondary school, and I've also done TAFE, like tertiary. So I've had a broad spectrum of education and development. So that's really good. I was working in a centre directing. So that's always a really high pressure job. I know it's a Monday to Friday job, but you never really switch off. So yeah, that was my life basically.
Yeah, so you said it's a very obviously a high pressure, stressful. So what did a day in a life of a centre director look like? Obviously, it's not flexible.
It's not flexible, but it's also not predictable either. Like you go in every morning with your plan. I love a good to-do list, often have one sitting on my desk, but it could sit there for weeks without getting ticked off. It just depended. There were so many variables. It depended on the children, their dispositions and behaviours for the day. They might have had a really bad sleep. So, they could be really needing some real extra attention. Then there's also the educator side of it. You might have staff away. You might have your centre cook away. Centre director, I think everyone that works in early childhood wears many hats.
Yep.
So it was very much a high pressure, high stressed job. As rewarding as it is as well, it also had that side of it where you just couldn't switch off.
Yeah, okay. And so you saw Ready Steady Go Kids from a centre director's perspective. What did you observe from that perspective, seeing Ready Steady as an incursion provider?
So it was many years ago, and I was actually an educator when I was more privy to it. So I hadn't seen it in the most recent years. But as an educator, it was just amazing to watch the coaches come in, the children and the movement skills that they would pick up or be doing, their behaviour, their confidence. They were just keen participants every time that we had the program in.
So what was that itch that kept on nagging at you to say, oh, I'd really like to do Ready Steady Go Kids? What was it? Was there a moment? What made you come across to us?
I think it was the coaches. I think watching them, they seemed to be loving what they did. And every week they brought such high energy. They just really seemed to get enjoyment out of what they were doing. And as much as early childhood fulfilled me, I was starting to, after 30 years, sort of go, oh, what's on the other side? But still within that sector, which I found was my vocation, like early childhood. So it just always had that in the back of my mind. But when I was witnessing it, I didn't actually realise it was a business I could own. I thought you worked for Ready Steady Go Kids as a coach. So I never knew that it could be something for me, like of mine, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So what did you do? Just do a little bit of research on the website. How did you then come across that it was a franchise business?
Oh, actually, that was through my director role, and
Okay.
we were looking at getting the program into the centre that I was working at. I had already said to my owner that I was giving notice. I had already said, I need something else. This is burning me out.
Yeah.
But I had no idea. So I was in that little plateau of, okay, I know I'm moving on, but I don't know what. I don't know where to look. And then we were looking at the program, as I said, for us. And we spoke to Sonia from Wollongong because there was no Shellharbour franchisee.
Yep.
And she just happened to, in her conversation, mention the word franchisee, or she was the owner of Wollongong. So I went home that night knowing just that was it. Like this was, what, I don't know, fate. I don't know what you'd want to call it. And I said to my husband, how do you feel about buying a franchise? And so we got online, we had a look, and he pretty much said, go for it. He knew I was done in the early childhood sector like in the long daycare, early childhood sector. So that night, I literally filled out the form that went off to you. And yeah, that was that.
And it moved really quickly, didn't it, Jen? Because history would say that I was actually looking, there was another inquiry on Shellharbour that I'd been talking to for months and months, and they were doing some really good due diligence and all that sort of thing. And then Jen pops up, the inquiry, and it was very quick that you moved to that next step of filling out that application form and obviously doing your due diligence in the same time, but you didn't really look back. You were determined, you were taking that region, weren't you?
It felt like it was meant to be, and it felt like mine from as soon as I hit send and sent that through to you. And then I did get a response saying you were on training and that someone else was interested in the area. And I swear my heart broke. I was that invested right from the beginning because I just felt like it was the perfect fit for me.
Yes. Oh, excellent. I'm so glad you did decide that, because here we are.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you came in 12 months ago, cost of living was increasing, there's uncertainty in the economic market and all that sort of thing. Business is hard anyway. You're in your first 12 months, and I want you to be absolutely raw, honest, what have you. What was your first 12 months like?
Amazing. It was, I will say that, but it was also challenging, and it was also eye-opening, if that makes sense, because I had ran a family daycare myself before, so I have had a small business before, but I do also suffer from, I think, imposter syndrome. So I thought I had the background, but could I actually do this? Could I employ someone? Could I manage all that? And those are the things that were the challenging parts, just finding my way through that, navigating the work-life balance. And I will be brutally honest, I lost my mum pretty much 3 weeks into my journey. And I had just started classes. I really hate disappointing people, that feeling of, oh my gosh, I've got to fly to Melbourne. She passed over a week, so I was gone for a while, very new to this environment, didn't know, finding my way to navigate that. And I will say you guys were so supportive and excellent. And so were my families that had already started our classes. So that was difficult, working out that and navigating that. And then just the business side of it, knowing, like you say, knowing how to, or where to go to employ someone in the role of a coach. And my BAS, I've been doing that myself. So we sort of, after the first 3 months, it's like, oh, I should be doing this more often, because it took me about 2 days to do my first one.
Yes.
So just all those little things. So as much as it is, I wouldn't look back, I don't look back, it's an amazing journey. It also has those little challenges along the way.
Yeah.
But I also think if you just slow down and work through them, they're not mountains.
Yeah. And so was there a moment in there, Jen, that you thought, what have I done? Have I made the right call?
There was, and probably with my mum. And
okay.
Also my daughters live in Melbourne as well, and my granddaughter, who I think we'll talk about in a little bit, she had surgery on her skull at 5 months as well. So just finding that, can I actually run a business while also having all this going on in the background?
Yes.
And the answer was yes, it was doable.
Yeah. And so you've come to the 12-month mark. What's shifted now? Because I feel like you hit the 12-month mark and you just flew. You've got all your ELC incursions and all those sorts of things, which I feel like when coming in as an ELC director, and I was telling you that you'll find this really easy, Jen, because you know all the buzzwords, you know how to get in the door of an ELC, you know what they're looking for. It's a piece of cake. And you didn't actually find that, did you? It was a really interesting story.
That was challenging. And that was probably the thing that I also assumed, I should be able to navigate that. I know what ELC directors are looking for. I know what the program brings to the early learning environment. But it was really difficult. And I think also that mindset, I thought I would find that a breeze, and it wasn't. Have I done the wrong thing? Am I not good at what I'm doing? Is there something I'm doing? And comparing myself to other franchises out there that were doing really well in that space, but then also having to take that step back again and go, I'm in a different place. There wasn't someone here in Shellharbour already setting those foundations. So it's you can't compare.
Yes. And so if there was one thing that you'll wish you were told on day one, can you think of anything that, just for my reference too, just to include in future franchisee training, is there something that you think, oh, that would have been really good to know back on day one?
I think that the whole don't compare. Yes, we're a
Yeah.
network. Yes, we're a brand. Yes, we work really well together.
Yeah.
But just because something is working in one area for someone doesn't mean it's
Yes.
going to work for you. You have
Absolutely.
to know your area, know your territory, know what your families need or your
Yes.
ELCs need.
Yeah.
And I think that was something, the pricing, like I went into the ELCs sort of thinking, oh, I've heard these prices thrown around, but I don't think that worked for my area. So then
Yes.
taking the step back and saying, okay, well, let's revisit, and then,
And it's really,
reevaluating what the need is.
yes, and that's a really important point, and that's why franchisees at the local area level are far better off knowing those things than us at head office in Melbourne, because you live in that area, you're in your community, and that's a really important part. You know your families, you know what they want. So being really involved in your community, whether it's going to local markets and fairs and fetes and all that sort of thing, that's really important to get to know your families and what is it that they're lacking, what is it that they need. So that's a really important part. Yeah, absolutely. And you've come from this 30 years of early childhood background. Has it helped in unexpected ways?
Probably not unexpected, but it has definitely helped. I think even though our classes can be quite structured, we've got our warm-ups, we've got our skills, we've got our sports, I think you also need to understand, like we keep saying, your families, the children
Yeah.
in your groups. And I think having that early childhood background has helped me there.
Yeah.
I find for me it's a little bit easier to pivot if I need to during a class than my coaches can at the
Yes.
moment. And I think that's where my experience comes
Yes.
into it.
Because toddlers are unpredictable. They're fun, but they're so unpredictable, aren't they? And little
They
things can
are,
set them
yes.
off, and not having the right colour spot, or I had the red spot last week, I want the red spot back. It's all those
It's
different things. You never know what they're going to be like and how much sleep they've had and all that sort of thing. So it's every day's different for a toddler, that's for sure. That's for
definitely.
sure. Jen, you always tell me this story that you've got in the class, and it was about a little boy that always just held on to his dad's leg, wouldn't come off his dad's leg, and by the end of the term, he just came along in leaps and bounds. Do you want to tell me about that story?
So he was one from the very beginning. So as you've mentioned, we all started operating a year ago and he came to one of my very first classes. But as the classes were building, attendance was quite low, so there wasn't anyone else in his class. So his very first class, this poor little boy comes and it's him, dad, and two coaches that just want to please or want to, but he wasn't ready. He was attached to dad.
Yeah.
But over the few weeks we evolved, we moved him into a class with other children so that he had that peer support. And slowly he would start to do things with dad. Dad was still really close by. I think we finished that term. They were probably one of the first to sign up again for the following
Okay.
term. And I think by the end of that term, he was literally, dad was sitting on the sidelines, did not
Wow.
need to be on court with him anymore. And I just remember there was, and it gives me goosebumps even now, there was one circuit, end of class. He's running the circuit and he runs past dad and he says, Dad, look at me. And he has the biggest smile on his face and he's just zooming. He's doing his skills, he's balancing, and he's just waved at dad and ran past and said, look at me. And it wasn't just his look, it was then seeing dad
Yeah.
and the realization, I think, for dad that, oh, look at how far he's come. And then
Yes.
also for me as well. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my goodness, look at this. Yeah, this is because, yeah,
Yes.
he's
And we
becoming.
and every franchisee will tell me a very similar story, that they see that shy child come in, and it might take a few weeks. And I guess that's the story to parents, that don't just come for a free trial and they didn't really participate how you wanted and all that sort of thing. Sometimes it does take a couple of weeks. It might take a couple of weeks just to stand on the spot with mum on the sideline. And then by the end of the term, we just see that progression, and they wouldn't miss this time of the week for anything. It just becomes their highlight of the week. But sometimes for children, everyone's in different scenarios, and depending on what activities they've done before, that sometimes it does take quite some time to get to that point where they're independent or they're willing to work with mum and dad to participate in the classes. And that's okay. Every child develops at their own rate and their own stage, don't they?
They do. And I actually say that to parents of when I do have children like that. I'm like, they're not participating just because they, like you say, they're not standing on their coloured dot or they're still
Yes.
sitting with you. When they're watching, they are learning. They are watching
Absolutely.
the other children and wondering, okay, why are they there and their mum's not? Like, they are building that confidence. And yes, maybe slowly, but we know children do not develop at the same rate all time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we know that they're little sponges at that age. And we know between the ages of 1 to 5 or 1 to 6, that's their most brain developmental time of the year. We need to get as much into their little brains as we can. So just absolutely exactly what you said. Just by watching, they're developing those brain pathways, and just by watching. So it's amazing. Yeah. So someone that ran early childhood centres, what do you see in a Ready Steady Go class that you recognise from the ELCs? Is there something there that there's a correlation between teaching?
So it is that child development. Like, but I think with Ready Steady Go, and I think over the last few years especially, it's not just about one area of development. We are actually holistically working with these children to develop all those areas. So we're doing gross motor, we're doing the fine motor. Yes, we are doing cognitive thinking. We're doing those socializations, which are so important in those early years.
Yeah.
The social emotional, like, those attachments that they are making with people that aren't just their family.
Yes, absolutely. And so have you noticed a difference, obviously being in childcare for so long, have you noticed over the years that a change in the age developmental gross motor stages, or?
I think, and it's a little bit sad, I think, that we are becoming a very technological society, and we say that all the time. We see it in children. They're on screens at an early age. They're on screens throughout their schooling now. I think,
and even us as adults, Jen, I'm constantly on my phone and I find myself doom scrolling. I say, what am I doing? I'm never going to get that 10 minutes of my life back. Danie, put your phone down. So
it is just the way we are. But I think due to that, there is a lack of physical sort of movement that we used to have, and the risky play that we used to have, that is now a little bit more safe because we're all a bit cautious and worrying. And trust me, my kids will tell you I was probably one of those helicopter parents that were like, oh, should you be climbing that tree? But really, it is what it is. But I just feel like there has been a shift of late as well to actually recognise that as a whole and say, okay, then we do really need programs like Ready Steady Go Kids, because in school we might not be moving as much as we are because we're sitting, like you say, at a computer desk or at a desk. So those 30-minute classes, those 45-minute classes are so important to move away from that and to get our whole body moving.
Yes, for sure. And work-life balance compared to being a centre director and now at Ready Steady Go Kids. Tell us about that now. How has your life changed in the last 12 months? Obviously, you've told us a little bit about the first term. Did it get better after the first term? I hope so.
I think owning your business, you feel like you're always on. I'm always thinking about the business, but it's not in a stressful way. It's actually kind of therapeutic, if that makes sense even. I feel like I'm building something from the ground up. And I'm building it. It's not I'm a part of it or anything. I'm actually helping to build this. So definitely a slower pace, which I know doesn't make sense because last term and this term I'm working 7 days a week. But they might just be morning sessions, and then you've got the afternoon where you can do a bit of admin and get distracted by other things if need be. Us being a term time, I do try, and I value that at the moment. So I know some franchisees like to do some holiday programs and things like that. At the moment I don't, and I think I mentioned my girls are adults and they live in Victoria and I'm in New South Wales. So I feel like having those 2 weeks every 10 weeks is so important. I also felt when I worked in schools and early daycare, early childhood care, those school holiday periods are so important for everyone. I think doing 10 weeks of something and then just knowing you can ease off for a couple of weeks, is really important. So Definitely the days are different. They seem slower, even the busy days where
Yes.
you've got classes in the morning, ELCs in the afternoon. I can drive between those and put the music on, have a
Yes.
sing. I'm not just sitting somewhere for 8 hours doing the one thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And so in 2024, you became a nana. Tell us
I
about
did.
that.
That was very exciting, very scary. It changes everything. I know having your own children changes everything, but then becoming a grandparent changes everything again. And just watching my daughter become a mother, that was amazing in itself. She's a beautiful mother. Obviously,
Well,
my
she gets it
granddaughter
from
is
her
just
own mother.
thank you. But then also, like, it's the other side of it as well, because then my other daughter has become an aunt, and she is
Yes.
just ridiculous as an aunt as well. She is amazing.
Yes.
And then I've got a son-in-law now. I never had boys, so that's kind of a new dynamic. So the whole family, I'm very family orientated. I do talk to the granddaughter, I think, on FaceTime. Thank goodness for FaceTime, multiple times a day. So that's what's really nice about the work-life balance as well. They know when classes are, and then they'll ring in between and have a chat and say good morning. Yeah,
Yes.
it's really
Awesome.
nice.
And has that changed the way, being a nana, has that changed the way you see the work?
Definitely, definitely. And it's so funny because she's actually come to a few of my classes when they visit.
Yeah.
I think she's got multiple uniforms because every time she comes down, they forget to
Gets a
bring
new
her.
one.
So it's just have another one. She's got lots of similar equipment. Her dad loves AFL and being a Victorian. So she's got all the footies. She's got golf stuff because Poppy loves golf. And often she will FaceTime and just show us the sports.
Oh, that's
She
cute.
now says ready, steady, go before she does things. No brainwashing.
No.
But she also jumps with like a kangaroo. And so all those little things that we are instilling in class, so you can transfer into life with your family,
Yes.
with your grandchildren. Yeah, it's just so
Absolutely.
important for their development. Yeah.
Yes. And it's interesting the way you look at it now, because every skill in our class there's a purpose for it. And it's a purpose not only for those children to get to school, but then in life in general. So it's funny how once you know the program and you're looking at it and you understand it from a developmental perspective, how then you're actually applying it in your own daily life. It's, oh, my little toddler, oh, he should be jumping by now, or he should be, or let's practice how to learn how to jump so that he can then propel into life and school and playing ground and navigation and body awareness and all those sorts of things. So it's amazing how it's just you're thinking about it in class, but you then also come home and think about it in your own life as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So someone watching in an office right now, what would you say to them?
Go for it. Do it. If you want to branch out, it's so well worth it. It is, yeah. As I say, I can't explain it because I'd just say do it. Don't regret it. Don't look back. There will be challenges, but as I say, no mountain is too high. It is so worth it.
So rewarding, isn't it? Particularly when you come back with stories like that little boy that attached to dad's leg for the whole term.
Yeah.
It's when you see the outcome of what you're doing and how you're impacting a child's life for that term, and hopefully they keep coming back so we can help them with other things. It's just so rewarding. Absolutely.
It is. You're building a community. You really are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you had 2 words to tell me, what would your 2 words be?
Definitely do it. Just do it.
That's like isn't that the Nike?
I think
Nike
it is.
just
a
do it.
Tick.
Just
do it. But do it. Don't hesitate. Don't doubt yourself. Don't question. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming from the Nike sign.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much for talking to us, Jen. I always love talking to you because I love hearing about your early childhood stories and things that we can always add into our program to make it easier for our early childhood. I've lost my tongue now. Early childhood incursions and things that we can implement in our class. And I just love hearing about your journey about being a nana and still wanting to help people with their children and their developmental stages. So I really love talking to you, Jen, and I think you're an awesome franchisee, and I'm so glad you found us and made that move so quickly.
So am I. Trust me. As I said, yeah, it was the right move.
Yes, excellent. All right, thank you, Jen. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Thank
Bye.
you. See ya.